Welcome back to Gaming News and Breakdowns. And in today's video, I have a quick video going over just my thoughts on the Bungie Destiny 2 developer live stream for the next expansion, Renegades. So I had made a post a little bit ago. I'm not sure when this video is going to come out, but a few days ago, I made a post that said I was taking a break from the game. I had burnt out from the game. It was just not what I was looking for. And, a lot of other people were taking a break. And I told myself, I'm going to come back for Renegades. I already bought the Year of Prophecy, so basically the deluxe edition. I had already bought it, so I was going to come back and play it. But since I had taken a break, the game just kept making turns for the worst. And overall, the general state of the game is just terrible. However, one of the points that I made was that every time Bungie is in their lowest of lows, they always find a way to bounce back. Two very good examples of this is when Beyond Light came out. Beyond Light was really fun. There was the darkness subclasses. Stasis was introduced, I guess I should say. And it was overall very fun at the beginning. And then as time went on, the year and the seasons and the expansion kind of dragged on. And I believe that the last season of that year actually ended up being the longest season of the year, which was 6 months long, which when you think about it, Destiny 2 has been out for 11 years. So I think this is the 12th year. It's coming up on the 12th year. So when you have a season that's 6 months long, that's a pretty good chunk of your game for just a season. So nothing was fundamentally wrong with the game then, but it was just getting boring. It was the same activities over and over again. And then all of a sudden, Witch Queen dropped. And that is some people's favorite expansion. Witch Queen showed us that Destiny can be fun again, right? And it was revealed that Lightfall was going to happen after Witch Queen. And so everyone was super excited. They announced a Strand subclass. There was a new Darkness subclass, one with a grappling hook. The expansion dropped and it was a dumpster fire. And then not only was the expansion a dumpster fire, but the seasons that followed it were dumpster fires. And so, it ended up being this snowball of just loss after loss for Destiny, and it was a hard time to be a Destiny player and especially a fan of the game. It was just not a great time. But then Bungie graced us with Into the Light, and that, I mean, some people say that is one of the best updates of Destiny, and that was a free update. Everybody who played the game got to experience that, and it also moved the story along narratively, and it made some sense. It wasn't just like they were like, here, take all this free loot. Like it rolled into the story very nicely. And then after Into the Light, we got the conclusion to the Light and Dark saga, which was the final shape, which some people, I remember when the game released, there was talk about the Beyond Light, or not Beyond Light, sorry. There was talk about the Final Shape campaign possibly being a candidate for Game of the Year. And I didn't believe that. I know that there are way better games. But, even just people talking like that, it felt so good to hear that. As a Destiny fan all the way back from 2014, being in a position where you hear that from people and people are coming back to the game and people are having fun, and it was just a great time. But then, ever since then, it's kind of been a just very slow decline, and then recently a hard drop off with Edge of Fate. The 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 episodes were not necessarily the best move, I think, and I think it was a good move of Bungie to move away from those. I think, after the first episode, they kind of understood, okay, we can't do this again. I understand that some of the stuff was done before that, but the the structure of the episodes just wasn't working. And I think that them moving away from it was a good idea. And then the hype for Edge of Fate was pretty potent, I would say. Talk about linking Graviton Lance to the assassination of Kennedy, and just doing all of the kind of like the connections to real life that Bungie was doing with the CIA files, and I don't know if they were CIA, just the government files or whatever, and um, the I forget the organization that Lodi worked for, but just all of those, the hype for the next saga felt real. And then when it dropped, there were very mixed reviews on Edge of Fate. I think that if you were a core Destiny player, you really enjoyed it, but if you were kind of like a casual who only came around every once in a while, it wasn't really the best. I think a lot of people were expecting something spectacular after Final Shape, and I had kind of dulled my expectations. I figured, hey, they just made this really big, really climactic and cinematic conclusion to the saga. They're gonna have to build up from the start. And I will say, even with that mindset, Edge of Fate blew my mind away, especially the way that it ended. If you haven't played it, I won't give you any spoilers, but especially the way that it ended, that last cutscene really gave me chills. And, you know, I think that Edge of Fate did a really good job for what it was, which is the beginning of a new saga. If you really think about it, Edge of Fate is the equivalent of what the Destiny 2 or sorry, the Destiny 1 campaign is. And if I had to pick between my favorites, I would pick Edge of Fate all day. And yes, that is with the hindsight of, the entire Light and Dark saga is behind us, and the lore is already established and the gameplay is already established, and we have a whole bunch of loot in our vaults. But the core of Edge of Fate was so much better than, I would say, the first three expansions of Destiny. I think really the first good story of Destiny would be Oryx and the Taken King. So regardless, going into the stream for Renegades, knowing the state of the game right now, I was very concerned. I was like, this is the moment that we know whether Destiny is going to survive. Either Destiny survives and the story carries on, or it dies right here. And I will say, watching the live stream, I was getting excited, but when it comes to Destiny, I'm an optimist. I've said multiple times, Destiny's my favorite game, and it has a very special place in my heart, and I tend to look at it with rose-colored glasses. But I think that, what really solidified it for me was looking at the chat while watching the live stream and seeing everyone hyped up. I think the only time that I saw any negative comments were when the stream crashed on Twitch and people were joking like, "Oh, Bungie didn't pay their bills," or the Wi-Fi cut out because Bungie is broke or whatever. But regardless, it wasn't just me that was seeing how exciting this expansion was. It was other people. And I know that this expansion has already received criticism for, you know, being Star Wars themed. I think a lot of people are seeing this and they think that it's a Star Wars collab in the sense of like Jar Jar Binks and Darth Vader are going to be in game. And that's not what this is. This is a Destiny story with a Star Wars flavoring. But watching this, I think that the future is bright for Destiny. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I felt very hopeful. I think that this expansion is going to be something special. I think that, they're going to prove us all wrong. I don't think the servers are going to go down. I think that, ultimately it's going to survive. Destiny has survived a lot worse. And so, I think initially, yeah, it's going to do that little roller coaster where the game releases, there's a bunch of hype in the beginning, the next few weeks go on and it dies down, and then people, criticize it, and people like it, people don't like it, they're going to have mixed reviews on it. But I think that this is going to be a very good expansion, and yeah, I'm excited for what they're bringing. So stay tuned for a video coming out soon with my predictions on Destiny 2 Renegades. I am a huge lore fan and I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I've already been analyzing this trailer, trying to find hints and bits and pieces that go together. And I think I've actually found some potential plot points that go together and some cool theories that I've come up with. So stay tuned for that, coming out very soon. And yeah, that is going to wrap this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you in another video. I'm going to put the video that I mentioned before that has the predictions in it in the end card, so stay tuned for that video. And then if that video hasn't come out, then maybe check out some of my other videos. But regardless, I hope you all have an amazing day. I hope to see you all in the new expansion, and I will see you in another video. Take care, guys.